and as you mentioned, things like putting mercury in a place where you breathe and swallow, it's just, that's crazy making. Yet the powers that be would tell us it's totally safe, even though, there are warning labels on the box when you buy it. You have to have a mercury separation system when you drill it out of teeth on the back end of the suction system. But somehow it's miraculously safe in your mouth, things like that. That's just crazy.
Well, talk about, since you mentioned it, let's dig into mercury just a little bit. When was mercury first introduced into dentistry?
Almost 200 years ago.
Yeah. And that's all you need to know, folks. That's it. Right. They used to give mercury as medicine to people, right? They gave mercury to Shakespeare, excuse me, Shakespeare, to Shakespeare for syphilis. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So they started putting it in people's mouths 200 years ago.
Yeah.
At what point did we learn that it was the most toxic non-radioactive metal on Earth?
Right. Well, and it's such an interesting story because at that time when mercury came into dentistry, there was already an organization of dentists, the American College of Dental Surgeons. And they said, hey, now, that's clearly toxic to people's health. We're not going to buy into that. And as a matter of fact, they said, if you want to continue to be a member of our organization, you won't use it in people's mouths. And those dentists that said, hey, we're going to use it anyways, we're going to start our own organization that is pro mercury filling, amongst other things. And that's what turned into what is now the American Dental Association.
Wow. So that's what caused the formation of the ADA was really over mercury?
That's part of my understanding of that. Yes. So the American College of Dental Surgeons ended up folding, because there just were, I get it. At that time, what else were you going to put into people's mouths? They didn't have composite bonding and things that we have today. So I can appreciate they were kind of in a bind, but if you know something's toxic, at the very least, inform the recipient. And instead, of course, the marketing around that for the past 150, 200 years has been, oh, it's totally safe. Somehow the copper and silver and tin that's in the filling somehow binds it, which is absolutely false. There's so much science that has proven it is constantly releasing mercury vapor. Even the American Dental Association 2 years ago released a press release saying, okay, we do admit it is off-gassing at all times. However, we still would say it's safe enough for most adults and blah, blah, blah. It's crazy.
That is so crazy. And let me mention, so if I talk about this in my book, for those of you who've read it and in my course, but if you haven't Googled this video called Smoking Teeth Equals Poison Gas.
Yeah.
If you Google this video, it was produced by IAOMT, Hal Huggins, or I don't know.
Yeah. Yep.
And those folks, and they show you the mercury vapor that is coming off of mercury fillings after they've been pulled out of people's mouths with just very gentle agitation. You can see it under it's special lighting. It's like a black light or whatever, right?
Yeah. Right.
But watch that video. It's just a few minutes long. And I remember the first time I saw it, I had read that mercury was, I knew mercury was toxic. Well, you learned that in grade school. And I had read when I got cancer, obviously when you're learning about what causes cancer, and mercury was certainly on that list. And at some point during my cancer journey, I read that silver fillings were 50% mercury. And I was like, oh, wow, I didn't realize that. And then I saw that video a few years later, and it was like, oh man, that tells a very different story than this is, the quote unquote, this is safe and not a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. It's unbelievable. The amount, when I think about the amount that I have taken out of people's mouths over the past 25 years, it's a little scary. It wasn't until 3 or 4 years ago that we started exercising the SMART protocol that the IAOMT put together. Prior to that, we would isolate with rubber dams, but the vapor is going everywhere. So thankfully, we now practice smarter, but I think, gosh, that is a lot of mercury that my team and I had been exposed to, because we're sitting over the patient huffing that in all the time.
Thanks for watching. If you like what you just saw, why not subscribe? Here's a link to do that. And if you'd like to watch the full interview, you can find it at chrisbeatcancer.com. There's a link to it in the description right below this video.